Hey, welcome to a special episode of the Twisted, Bent, and Exhausted. How about that? I got it right. Entrepreneurial podcast. My name is Jeff Harris, along with my co-host,
Leslie Spoor.
Leslie. Let me just take that down because I didn't put the name of the Twisted, Bent, and Exhausted Entrepreneur Podcast. That's exactly what it is. We're doing something live. You know, where we talked about this, or I guess I should say, I'll take full responsibility. Is I thrust this upon you to say, you know, we've done some episodes in advance. We're out into March now, and here it is, the 10th of February. And, you know, sometimes, especially as fast as things are moving, Leslie, we can be talking about things. By the time it comes out, it is old news. As they say, you know, the news cycle, it's changed 2 or 3 times. And what we're talking about is like irrelevant in a way, but not true, because it seems like what we talk about are more principle based than they are like a wave, if you will. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I focus on industry benchmarks and fundamentals. I don't really, my stuff is sort of timeless. The AI stuff, though, changes minute by minute, but the need for systems and good, solid business foundation, that doesn't change.
You know, before we get going, before anybody sees this, because this is high definition, Leslie, if you don't mind, Leslie had a little bit of a tooth issue this morning, and so one of her beautiful crowns decided to pop off. But here's the coolest thing about Leslie: she's like a mailman or a mail person. Rain, shine, sleet, or hail, or missing tooth, she's going to be on today's show. So Leslie, thank you so much. She
yes.
whistles as she answers. That's what's going on.
It's not the least bit embarrassing, by the way. Thank you for bringing it to everybody's attention.
I just want to be fair. You know, I had to do something to get the wart off my nose there. So, so today, like I said, and I shared an email today that I read this morning. I'm in a weekly newsletter from Peter Diamandis, and he has a program called Moonshots, and it's called WTF, and in the world of digital, of AI. And he sent this thing out, and I'm at 4:30, 5 o'clock this morning. I'm reading it, and Leslie, it almost made me like, holy crap! I wish I could just go back to bed, because all the stuff on that list. It's like, wait a second, I just learned a whole bunch of this stuff that's not on this list yesterday just to stay relevant to today. And now there's a whole bunch of stuff that's happening. How do we keep up with this stuff?
It's impossible. I think you have to almost draw a line in the sand and say, okay, for right now, this is as far as I'm going. Because if you don't do that, you end up with a perpetual design situation. You never get finished with anything. I mean, there are so many options and ways to do things, and it's so overwhelming, the amount of apps, AI help, the programming things, so people can all turn into programmers if they want to. I see stuff saying you can make your own apps, you can do this, you can do that. And yeah, you can, but how much time and attention does it take? And is that really the path you want to go down? Because yeah, it's fun. It's fun to build things. I know firsthand how fun it is to build crap. But the bottom line is that helping you further the purpose of your business, right? Everything should come down to, is this helping me further my business? Because I fall into this trap all the time. I continually want to build solutions for the lifestyle management industry, because I run up against it all the time. This person needs this person needs this, and I want to help these people. But at some point I have to say, wait, I've got to go out and sell some of this stuff. I can't just keep building it, right? And it's the same with AI. I've seen it with you. You get something almost finished and some new tool comes out and you're like, oh, well, this is going to make it better. And it does. But when do you stop engineering? When do you stop building?
Yeah, in this, I'm going to call it this new iteration that I've coming out from my content accelerator. I did have a really strong conversation with myself and said, hey, I'm only building, because what I have is version 1. So this is version 2. Anything else I say, as I'm building along the way, has to be version 3 or version 4. So right. What I did, and what it taught me, Leslie, is, or I should say reinforced with me, is when I'm doing this, it's like I got to stay on task with this, or it will be one of those things that I will never get done, because it's almost like saying, hey, I remember reading something about like the Bay Bridge, and they start on one end painting it. By the time they get to the other end, they got to start again because it's
That's
taking
right.
that long to get it done. It's a never ending process.
Right.
Well, that's kind of what's going on here. And so I've had that conversation with another potential client who we should have gone to market a month ago. And he keeps saying, well, what if we add this? What if we add this? And I finally, this morning, I sent an email. I said, listen, it's a version 1 or we're not going to go forward. We just got to put it in, not in sand, in concrete, that this is what we're going to do. Let's deliver this, and then let's go to the next step. So to me, remaining relevant is, like you said, at the end of the day, you don't have a business unless you're selling something, unless there's a transaction, right?
Right. Exactly right. I had the same problem last year when I was redesigning, or 2 years ago and last year, where I was redesigning my software and making it, adding functionality and making it look pretty and sexy and adding all these new things that we wish we had. They're all wish you hads. And then you get to a point where as soon as you complete one, you go, oh, but we could also do this. And oh, but we could also do that. And pretty soon you find yourself you're so deep in the hole financially with it, that you wonder if you can ever recoup, And so we finally had to do that and draw a line in the sand on that redesign. It's beautiful and it works great. And it's, honest to goodness, we could not be as big as we are without it. But we have a whole stack of version, the next version of stuff next time around. We'll do these other things because we want to add more things to it. But we added a substitute CRM module in there. It's not really 100% CRM, but it does give us a way to track prospects. And so, because people kept saying, well, we need a way to keep track of our prospects. So I put a way in there, but is it a full blown CRM? No, it isn't, because there's not reporting tools and things that people want. I know what they want, but I had to get something in there just to at least track. Because even for myself, I have a stack of documents on my table that say, call this person back, call that person back. So I wanted to get them into the database so that I didn't have to have that paper. And so I had a place where the reporting tools that I do have will tell me, hey, you're behind on this. Make sure you make these phone calls. So I feel you. I know what it's like. We used to talk about this in aerospace all the time. We had an engineer who was an electrical engineer, and he would not stop designing. We'd be prying the hardware out of his hands in order to ship it, because he wanted to make one more tweak, just one more tweak. And you have to stop at some point. And, and creative people fall into this trap all the time.
So true.
You're very creative. You can look at software and figure out, you're even picking up the programming mantle and doing the programming and using the AI agents to make things better, which is awesome. I have logic for programming, but I don't do the programming. So, but I still get caught up in, oh, here's a new tool we could create, or here's a new way something could look. And so, and it's all doable, right? It's just a matter of how much money do you want to throw at it. I had somebody the other day that I thought was going to sign up for software because she has all these disparate systems. And she says to me, yeah, I'd really like to have it, but first I want to see if I can get somebody to integrate all of this stuff together. So all her Clue systems, she wants to try to integrate together, and she's paying twice what it costs to have my software.
Yeah.
And she hasn't even spent the money for the programming.
Is that called sunk cost? When you put so much money in something, you're just not willing to get rid of it. It's almost like that example of like How to Catch a Monkey. Is like have them reach through that little hole and give them a banana, but now because their hand is so large they can't get out, so they're willing to give up their freedom for that banana because they're going to be trapped. They're not willing to let go of that banana. That's sunk cost. It's like, let it go. And that reminds me of a saying that said, probably in 2026, the businesses that will adopt and move forward the fastest will not be the ones trying to build, as you say, build and adapt. It will be, they'll build from the ground up with AI. And
and the kids will be difference. Well, and the kids will be the ones that pay off from that, because kids are all raised these days to understand uh the AI is going to be part of their in their pocket. There's
Yeah.
who was telling me, somebody was telling me that they know this guy, he's just not even in his 20s yet, and he's already a multimillionaire because he built something, programmed something
Yeah.
that people wanted. And so we're going to see a lot of that as the younger ones come up and realize that there are no limitations. That's really what it's about, is that we're getting fewer and fewer limitations as AI becomes more educated and skilled at what it does, that your limitations are dropping off. I think about think about where you were 10 years ago
God, I wish I
and
was there. I was
how
on the
we
beach. Oh no, not that one. Okay, okay. All right.
you and me both. Um, like, let me give you a better example. So when I worked on the road in aerospace, I used to have to take a CD player
Mm.
and a floppy drive and a Ethernet cable that was about 700 feet long, so I could plug in to get dial up
Yeah.
across the room. Do you remember those days?
Oh yeah.
And I would order books from Amazon and have them shipped to my hotel and then have to carry them home. And now you can get a Kindle, you have an iPad. In those days, the Zoom meeting, the video conferencing was terrible.
Mhm.
Everything was out of sync and you couldn't really see people. And can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? You know, and now look at where we are. I
Yeah.
mean, and so restrictions are falling away. And I think that because the opportunities are there, some people think that they need to go toward the opportunity when in fact there's already solutions that exist. And so they should look at both of those, is what I'm kind of getting to. For A, we have to stop designing, you and me both. And B, we, the general people. And B, even though there's opportunities out there, sometimes what's existing is just as good or better than those things for now.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that?
I would, and I'll just toss this out before we get into our first, what I say the first point of staying relevant in 2026 is, we now have the ability, and right, wrong, or indifferent, we now have the ability to say, hey, I love this particular piece of software, this particular website, and there are people out there who can absolutely say, okay, with the tools they have, the AI tools they have, to say replicate this, but to put my brand on it, and it will take it from start to finish and make it a working model. Leslie, I think like Salesforce, they took a major hit this past week because of, hey, they sell software as a solution, right? And
Mhm.
I think you and your software is I'm going to say, and I use the term moated. It has a moat around it because it is so unique to a very specific field. But when you have companies out there like Salesforce, who helps a lot of other people, or HubSpot, and it's a large organization selling this generalized software. What'll happen is I will look at it and say, gosh, I need that, but it's so expensive and there's so much of this I don't need. I now can say, well, let me take this and put it in my programming, let's say Cursor or Make, or now it's called let's see, anti-gravity for Gemini, and say, duplicate this, only do X, Y, and Z for my company. And my company, so only do it so it's relevant for me. And it's crazy how it'll spit it out and it'll be working. So it is a weird time, Leslie. And I think it's one of those things that, and we talked about this before in some of our recorded versions. And I want to point this out. By the way, if you're just joining us, we normally do a program called the Tired, Bent, and Exhausted, or
No,
excuse me,
twisted.
Twisted, Bent,
Twist.
and sorry, it was
Jeez.
my Twisted, Bent, and Exhausted podcast. And we do that it comes out every Thursday, a new episode. And this is, I'm seeing, we're scheduled through March 12th, which that's episode 9 in season 2, which is like 57 or 58. And we hope you'll jump in there and test it out. It gives you a tremendous amount of resources and relevance of, hey, what's going on in the marketplace,
Right.
from from business, from tech, from just, hey, how did you get that scar on your forehead? Why did the tooth get knocked out because of business? And we'll just tell you the way it is, right? So I want
Yeah.
to I want to encourage you. This is on Spotify, and also it's on Leslie or my
You,
YouTube channel. So
yeah,
please
we're
check it
on
out.
YouTube. Yeah, we have fun doing this. It is great fun. Usually Jeff never lets me talk. I don't understand.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I feel like
You're
I
funny.
monopolized the conversation. I did just see a video though
I
before we go
sometimes have
on.
to do this just so I can talk. I have to pull her off because I do have control of that. Yeah.
So I saw a video the other day that I tried to show my husband, but he wasn't having it. It talks about how people who constantly interrupt, it's because their brain is, I always tell him, I'm with you already. He gets mad, I interrupt him. I go, I'm sorry, but I'm already with you. We process information so fast that we can finish the sentence and have the answer before you can get the whole sentence out.
Yeah.
And so in a way it's rude. In another way, how do I stop that? Because, and I try to do it with you. When you're talking, I try not to talk. I know I don't always succeed
And
in
I
that, but
speak
I
very
try.
quickly.
You do. You speak really quickly. So I don't know whether it's because took speed reading in high school or whether it's just because my brain works like that. But I am like jumping through ahead so quick on stuff. He wasn't having it though. He didn't buy that, but it made sense to me.
I think you're onto something there, because that's our I'm going to call it, it's not attention deficit. I think it's just our ability to process data so much quicker. And
Right.
we're not unique. There are a lot of people out there like that. But as an example, like there's oftentimes we'll get in the car, my wife and I, and she'll get in my car and I have a podcast on because I listen to a lot of podcasts. And she's like, what in the world is that? I'm like, well, it's, such and such podcast. And she'll say, what speed are you listening to that? Because I tend to listen 2x, because otherwise it's just too freaking slow for me. So I just speed it up. And so maybe that's part of it. If we've just taught what walking fast or thinking fast really is by just doing those kind of things, right? And you're a multitasker, which they say that doesn't really, it's really hard to multitask, but you seem to do it pretty well.
I do it pretty well. I have a lot of things going at the same time and I jump back and forth between them. I'd like to be a little bit more linear in my thinking, but I have never been that way. Even when I was, an inspector for NASA or a planner, an operations planner, I always had, you have multiple projects you're working on as a planner, and I was always bouncing around between them. So I don't know any other way, really. My brain just works like that.
Well, this first piece that I put up here, that I'm going to put up here, it was triggered by a conversation. It was a text/voice text. I don't know if you've gotten voice text where somebody doesn't want to type it, so they'll send you this voice text, and you just have to listen to the whole, or you get to listen. I should say, in case you're listening, you get to listen to the whole thing in their voice. And this is be humanly present as often as possible. And the reason it's triggered, Leslie, is because this particular person, who now is not going to be a client, and I'm okay with that, is I spent a lot of time with her creating a video avatar to help her be in places that she didn't want to be because she was stressed out from having to be in all those places, right? Is now this long message, I think it was 6 minutes long. She basically is saying, listen, I just need to be present as me, not as an avatar like me, as much as possible, because I want my audience to trust me. So I think the first one is to just be present as often as possible. And you've been doing a great job of this. I've been going to chamber meetings and real estate office meetings and all kinds of things to do. Tell us about that.
Yeah. Well, and I've talked about this before, but after COVID, I kind of got stuck in my office. And so you enforced and pushed me to join a networking group, which I did. And I found that I had missed the in-person conversations and networking. I really missed it. And so I started out last fall on a mission to talk to as many people as possible, because what happens when you don't is that your pipeline dries up.
Yeah.
And even if it isn't dry, it will get dry eventually. You need to make sure that you continue, because any business, the client base changes and shifts. Either they age out, or they want different services, or in the case of today, like we used to do a lot of shopping for people, and now it's so easy to order and have a delivery that a lot of people don't ask us to do shopping as much. They still do, but not as much. So you have to be able to reinvent yourself and ebb and flow with the changes. And so if you don't get out and talk to people and find out what those changes are, then you're going to fall behind, and your business is going to dry up. So I've been out talking to, I bet you I've talked to 400 or 500 real estate agents, just that. I've been doing expos like crazy. I have another one. I'm speaking at the Realtor Group for Art next week in Palm Springs. And then 2 weeks after that, I do another expo for realtors at the casino. And in between, I'm just going to a lot of chamber mixers, and I'm going to one this Thursday night. We're doing the big awards dinner thing. So, you just have to participate and get out there and show your face. Sometimes, when I belong to the Homeowners Association's professional group, I realized that it isn't as important to donate things or sponsor things as it is to let them see your face and show up. And show that you're supporting them and what they do, and that you go consistently to events. See, my tooth is messing me up. I can't even talk properly.
There's that whistle.
There's that whistle. So yeah, I think being humanly present is really important, especially in this day of AI.
Well, and I'm going to leave this before we go to this next topic, or the next point is right after this woman sent me this voice text that said, hey, I think I'm going to do it the old fashioned way. It's just me being me. I get a text, and I sent it to her, and it was from our favorite motivator, Tony Robbins. And he sent me a message that says, hey, keep rising with Tony's gift. Get a Tony Robbins AI. So now like I could, and he's using a platform which I did several years ago called Delphi.ai, and it allows me to interact with Tony and ask Tony all the questions I want, because it's educated on all his knowledge, but and there's an offer for that. And this was exactly the area, or actually the path we're going to go down with this woman. Was she was going to be she's the face of the business, and then for people to follow up, they would be able to do it from her AI avatar, which would allow her then to be available to them 24/7, which again, I think brings us to the next one, which step number 2 to be relevant, customer service, is leveraging automation and AI to help you stay relevant. Because, well, I'll give you an example. This last week, I went to get a physical, and nothing, no big deal. But when I went in there, there were 2 people in the room, and one person, all they were doing was typing, and the other person was all on. They were the one doing the physical, but this other person wasn't saying anything, just standing at the computer typing. Well, the person that was working with me went out, and I said, "Are you scribing or charting?" And she said, "Oh yes." She said, "I am." That was her job, to stand there and take notes. Now, for some of you who don't know this is something we actually have created a solution for, that allows you to be present and more relevant, to say, hey, instead of walking and having to type or your head down, they literally hired another person. Instead of saying, wait a second, I can set this device down, it will record everything and immediately put those notes in the patient's file and also on the patient's portal immediately. And now what happens is, it allows the doctor or the physician's assistant or the nurse assistant, whoever it is in there, to be where? Present with me.
Right.
And I think that's where they can leverage automation and AI that, 6 months ago, maybe didn't exist. Now it does exist. And I think what happens is, to remain relevant, I think businesses have to look at it and say, what tools out there that are allowing me to spend more time being face to face with my customers, but not jeopardizing customer service. What do you think of that?
I agree 100%. Everybody's worried that AI is going to take over their jobs, and I really think that's an overreaction. It is going to take over some jobs, but just like that one, in your example, that is a waste of overhead as far as I'm concerned, because if you can just, they're already talking, right? She's just transcribing what the doctor says.
Right.
So if you can talk and it can be recorded and then automatically transcribed and posted where it needs to be and still meet the HIPAA laws,
Before I even
right?
leave the room,
Right, before you
it's
even
done,
leave the
right?
room, it's done. So, I don't understand why you would pay somebody to do that, except that that's an old school way of doing things. Now,
Yeah.
that doesn't mean that person has to go away. Maybe there's other things that person can do instead of just standing there scribing all day long, which would make me want to, put my head in the oven. It would be like,
Pull your
"No."
teeth out.
Yeah, I did that already. Maybe it was just a bad day, Jeff. Maybe that's what it was. Maybe that's what really happened.
Uh,
But you know what I'm saying is that why would you, any kind of routine, mundane, even my software does that. It automates all this data entry and visibility for it so that it's all in a workflow so that it makes sense and it's
yeah.
easy and you don't have to manually track things. That's what you want. You want to be able to have automated tracking or automated visibility or automated reporting tools, things that do not require redundant efforts, right? Because she's transcribing it, and I don't know if she's transcribing it directly into the patient files and into the portal, or whether one feeds the other. I don't know how that's happening, but there are cases where the transcription has to still be formatted after you take those notes, right? You're just
Absolutely.
taking notes.
Yeah.
So that one act could lead itself to additional redundant efforts. And that's what we're trying to avoid with automation and artificial intelligence, is a way to automate routine and mundane tasks. Because I always challenge the people that I do 5-day challenges for, how much is your time worth? Right? If your time is worth $150, $200 an hour, but you're doing a $10 an hour job
Mm.
because somebody has to track something, that is not an effective use of your time, right? So we want to be able to find, leverage automation in a way that eliminates redundant efforts, right? It's just like your content accelerator, right? It takes the ability to create content for social media, automates that specific to any business,
Hmm.
right? So you don't have to do the research on the business yourself because it does that for you. You don't have to create videos because it does that for you. You don't have to create emails because it does that for you. You don't even have to create the posts for social media because it will do that for you. It
Yep.
does everything every week. So all you have to do, and you've been monitoring it, so you know that the content that comes out is good,
Very good.
right? And so it's now has its own intelligence and can search for the answers it needs to be able to create content specific for a business, regardless of what kind of business it is. It will read your website too, I believe. So it's
Absolutely.
pretty. It's quite. That to me is the epitome of how you leverage automation. Because right now, how do you create content? You've got to stop and do a video, and then you've got to save it some way, and then you've got to sometimes edit it or format it. You have to look up pictures for things. And I had a, a video or a picture account where we could get images that we paid for so that we could
Right.
put them into things, right? So that they were royalty free, so that
Right.
we paid for them. And then you have to format emails or newsletters or blogs or, or create images. I mean, it's a lot of work to do content creation.
It is.
And so now it doesn't have to be,
No.
and that's the way it should be in all of business. You should be looking for what parts of your business can I automate to eliminate those redundant efforts and to make me more efficient, improve my cash flow, and get me a better, reduce my overhead.
Yeah, well, it's almost one of those situations, Leslie, is like all these things we're talking about of reducing the redundancy. Every minute, every hour that frees up of your time allows you now to say, okay, I can now go to another meeting and be
Right.
present at that meeting. I can now do
Right.
another presentation to another real estate group and be present at that meeting and know these other things are already taken care of in the back end. It's
Right.
not saying, well, I have to take, it's not an either or, it's an and environment that you're creating by doing this.
Exactly. That's exactly right. And so people need to reframe their thinking. And I try to do that with people all the time, is to reframe their thinking and not be intimidated by what's coming.
Yeah.
A lot of people, surprisingly, not everybody's as well versed in AI as we are. And I'm only there because we're best friends and you tell me stuff all the time and I get it.
I drag her
So
along.
he just drags me into the future, like whether I want to go or not, kicking and screaming.
Uh,
So, but what I'm saying is that people need to not be afraid of it. They need to just take a step back, look at their business and say, and you can do this easily with a time study. Track what you're doing every day. Track what it is that you specifically do to run your business. And of those things, which of those can be delegated, which could be outsourced, which could be eliminated, and which could be automated, right?
Yeah.
Where these could be automated, and then how do we automate them? It's always shocking to me how inefficient companies are, even after they've been in business for 10 or 15 years. Not as a criticism, I'm just surprised.
Yeah.
Because you would think so much of this stuff is available. So you would think that people would be on it already, but they're not. They don't know about it yet.
Well, I think part of that, and I think we talked about this a little bit, is when we go to work, we're dialed in and we're bit in our own silo. And if somebody is not knocking on our door and walking in and exposing to this, we just keep on that same cycle. We're on a bit of a treadmill, if you will. I go to work, do my thing, come home, have family, family time, dinner, go to bed, do the same thing again. And if somebody is not bringing that, as you've described, if somebody's not bringing that into your world, you don't even know about it. Right. And I try to share things like that with you and other people because I think it's important, because at the end of the day, we've heard this over and over again, or I should say I've heard this over and over again, is like, the world, your job is not going to be replaced by AI. It's going to be replaced by someone who knows how to use AI. And that requires you to learn. It's almost like saying, your transportation business of a horse and buggy is not going to be replaced by another horse and buggy. It's going to be someone who knows how to drive a freaking car. So you should know how to drive a car, right?
And there's still horse and buggies out there. The Amish country, most of the places where you go for like a stroll down a promenade, they still have promenades.
How many people would you say, hey, I want you to start a new business of a horse and buggy business?
Well, not very many.
Thank you very much.
I would
Case
not
closed.
advocate for that, but there are still horse and buggies being made.
I'm not saying there's
not the horses. The horses have been there all along. But
I'm not saying there's not. There will always be some of those instances, right? But I think it's important to say, hey, what tools are available can move me along and make my life better. One of these is thinking of your company as a media outlet. You're not somebody who says, well, I make this, I do that. No, you're a media outlet. Because anymore, as you were talking very beginning, is the barrier to entry is so low now. Like, how much does it cost us to put this particular program on? Nothing. How much does it cost to, create an online video on YouTube? Technically nothing. Nobody's telling you, okay, to put your video on YouTube, it costs you $22. No, it doesn't. It's not. It's free.
And you can use your camera on your phone. You don't have to use an app like we're using. You could just use your camera on your phone. And the quality of the camera is better than it's ever been too. So
it's 4K. It's 4K. It's not parquet or porquet. It's remember that one is parquet. Is it margarine or is it real butter? Whatever. But you have 4K on your phone. You can when an idea pops in your head. How many times have you seen somebody and they've shared an idea and they're in their car or
Yeah.
they're on a park bench, or they're walking down a street. That's the cool thing about what we're doing is think of yourself as a media company, a
Yeah.
media outlet. So no matter where you're at, like Leslie, if you're out there and you're teaching somebody to do the follow the wall program with your company executive errands, which is phenomenal, you should say, hey, I just want to share this with you because a lot of people don't know this is what happens. And if you don't
Mhm.
have a company like us, it isn't happening. So,
Right.
the rodents that are destroying your bushes or leaky spray nozzles, you don't see that because they're only going in and saying, okay, I'm just going to flush your toilet and look around the house and make sure everything's okay, and I'm going to leave. Meanwhile, your yard is being flooded, right?
You know, I met a lady at a networking event last week that is a snowbird. She
Yeah.
happened to come to this meeting, and she's like, her, who is it? I think it's her pool guy that goes in and checks her house every once in a while. And she came home this year, and there was a rat in the house, or 2 years ago, there was a rat in the house because her toilets got dry, and the rats come up through the sewer, and
Yeah.
and she was freaking out, and then she wanted to put saran wrap over them, which does nothing either. I mean, have you ever seen what a rodent can get through? I mean, very teeny tiny little spaces.
It's not going to
And so
stop
I
it,
was
is it?
like, no. And I was educating her about all things we look for and how the right way to prep your house for departure and the right way to check your home when you're gone. And her eyes were like really big. She said, I had no idea. And I said, like, some people want to cover all their drains to keep those bugs and rodents from coming up. But here's the problem. What if you get a leak? What if
Yeah.
the pressure regulator in your house gets wonky and now the water is dripping out of a shower head, or the cartridge goes bad all of a sudden? Where does that water go?
You
I
got a
can tell
plug
you
on
where it goes: all over the house.
it. Yeah.
Because I've seen it happen.
Yeah.
People don't realize that for a few pennies, what the risk is you're taking.
And
And
see,
so,
Leslie,
right.
this is where what you're talking about, this is a piece of media that you could so easily make when you're walking through somebody's house, or you
Yeah,
just say, hey, I just left a potential client. This is how they have been doing it in the past, or how they think they're going to do it. Let me just tell some of the pitfalls of this.
right.
And all of a sudden you have now a piece of content because you're a media company. You don't still walk away going, boy, these people, they don't know what they're doing. They're in trouble. No, you've now shared it with the other people who thought, says to the wife, because I guarantee you the wife is not saying to his husband, I'll just put stoppers on all of the drains and we'll be okay. The wife would already know that's not a good idea, right? But
There's
the
a lot of
husband, we
things
don't
that
know that.
there's a lot of things that aren't good ideas that people tell. The amount of things that excuse me, the amount of misinformation that gets passed around out here in the desert, I'm sure it's true everywhere, flabbergasts me. I mean, I've been doing this for 20 years. I have seen just about every scenario you can imagine. And I've had people tell me they've come home and found an inch of bugs in their house. I mean, and it's just not worth it. And the
No.
sand out here is insidious and gets in every nook and cranny. And in August, we have the fires and all of the soot and ash. And it's just, there's so many issues in this climate where we live that it constantly surprises me that bad information is still out there. You would think people would know. So I'm doing my best to let them know. I do my newsletter, and I haven't been doing as many videos, but I think I need to do more videos actually.
Well, here's the thing. You can hire a company like myself, SwingPointMedia, but at the end of the day, we have a hard time replicating that authenticity. And that really kind of takes us back to the first thing. It says, hey, be humanly present as often as possible.
Right.
That is a clue, folks. If you're missing this, or you're just redoing this, you should write this down. This is gold. This is the stuff that people pay thousands and thousands of dollars for us to do, that you should be doing, that you can
Mhm.
do.
Right.
That I can't tell you how many times, Leslie, that I have guided a client who we're making content for, and I say, they say, well, can you put more realistic images in there? Well, I can, but even better is if you or your staff are out there doing this, is to make a short video or take pictures, because that's the real world. That's what we
Right.
want. And what happens is we all get busy. They get out there, they do their job, they leave. And then we ask them a couple of days later, they go, geez, I know I should have done that, but I shouldn't. It's a habit. You have to get a habit into it, right? Of saying, hey, well, I'm in there. This is what I'm doing. Kind of just do a little quick video. Those are priceless. I'll give you a quick example. About a year ago now, because you've been a client about a year, Fraser Pest Control sent me their very excellent pest control here in the desert. Yes, here they come. There they go, Joe. I got to say that. They sent me a video of a home that they were called to that had infestation of bees in their awning as you start walking to their front door, the overhang.
The eaves, yeah. I had that.
It was full of bees. And so they took that video and then they added images once they opened it up, how much was in there. I mean, it was like a massive hive. And then they cleaned it all out, put it back in there. That video, I think, got in the first week, got 60 or 70,000 views. I can't make that, right? I mean, yeah, I probably could with AI, but that is authentic. That really happened. I couldn't be there with them the whole time. They can't afford for me to just ride around with them. That's where you as a business owner can really make it. And again, think of your company as a media outlet.
Yeah, it's a good one. I like that one.
And it really kind of ties in with this one. Always share value and solutions to your ideal audience. You've been doing this basically the whole show of how you were talking about the drains and how, all that stuff. It's that way. It's not selling. You're giving us value.
No, it's just hints and tips and things. I was meeting with a realtor the other day, and he's new to the area. He transplanted here from New York. So this is a completely different environment for him. And he was asking me about some of the things that I could tell him. So I was telling him about Lemmy Shine. Are you familiar with Lemmy Shine, Jeff? So as you know, the water out here is super, super hard. Yes. Right? All over, and the hardness varies by neighborhood. It could be okay in one house and very next door it's horrible. I don't know how that works. All our water comes off an aquifer, but it's very, very hard out here as a general rule. And if you don't have a whole house water softener, which a lot of people don't, the water will take a toll on not only your shower heads, but also your washing machines and your dishwashers. And I've seen it firsthand in a dishwasher where all of a sudden your glasses and stuff are getting a white film on them that will not come off no matter what.
Yeah.
So once you get to that point when you're getting white film on glassware, you might as well just go get a new dishwasher because it can't really be fixed. So the recommendation I give to everybody is to use a product called Lemmy Shine. I'm not a sponsor for that. I don't get any,
no royalties.
No royalties, but it's LEMI-SHINE, and it comes in powder and liquid. I happen to like the liquid, but if you put that in your dishwasher, like you would do with jet dry or something like that, it will soften the water enough to keep it from getting that hard water buildup. And the same in your washing machine. You can use that, or I use 20 mule team borax and put a half a cup in there with every load. I don't get odor in my front loading washing machine like most people do. And I don't even wipe out the gasket. They say, wipe out the gasket. I don't have to do that. I just use a softener in there, and it really helps keep your clothes cleaner, helps keep the hard water buildup, all that stuff. Well, he was amazed when I told him this. He wrote it down right away. He said, I'm going to go back and talk to my partner about this because he'd never heard of it. And I've done newsletters on that, about that product. So you just don't think about it, And when you're running water in a house, for example, not only do the sink traps and the toilet traps need to stay wet, but so do the washing machine and the dishwasher. You have to run water in those things at least once a month in those two places so that the traps stay wet. Otherwise, you do get bugs and rodents and snakes and every other creepy crawler you can think of.
And as you mentioned, the odor, I remember I went to a friend's house in Bighorn, and in their casita, beautiful home, they have an outdoor pickleball court. And I was invited to play pickleball. I had a little bathroom and said, use it in there. Well, when I went in the bathroom, there was an odor, and it was because it's used very rarely.
Yeah.
And so it had dried out. There was no water in the trap. So everything was coming back into the room. And after
Yeah.
I ran some water to wash my hands, guess what? There was water now in that trap, and it blocked that odor. A lot of people don't know that. These are little
Right.
things that, as we said in the last thing, is think of yourself as a media company. These are little things that we don't know, that when they say, hey,
Right.
when I'm gone, I just turn my water off for the summer. Well, that's not going
Right.
to do it, right?
No, it isn't. And there's whole other things about that too, we're not here to go into today. But yeah, there's just, it's just, it comes with territory. And we happen to be in two businesses. We're in the lifestyle management business where we take care of people's homes and personal assistance and all kinds of things. And then we have the business consulting software and education and training business, which for me is full circle, So, and I say that because the last 10 years of my experience in operations in aerospace was as a consultant, helping people pick software solutions and helping re-engineer their business processes, right? So now I'm doing that in the lifestyle management industry. Well, I could do it for any business, but I focus on the lifestyle management industry, and I'm giving them solutions as well. And you've seen my testimonial. So
Yeah,
I
amazing.
know that sharing value and solutions to your audience is the only way to go, particularly when it comes to running a business. People just, they don't know. We say this all the time. They don't know what they don't know. I'm going to get a t-shirt that says that because they really don't. And it's, again, it's not a criticism. It's just the fact that over time you learn, unless your business is small and then you have no opportunity to learn, right? I was very blessed that I worked in large companies or, 50 to 200 people. I did work in a 1,200 person company, which I just despised, not the company, but the number of people, because you couldn't affect positive change with that many people. It was impossible.
Yeah.
And I could tell you why, but we're not here for that either. But small businesses, 10, if 2 to 50, you can actually help companies and help make them better and help them see how they can help themselves, which is really the goal. Right? We want to help people help themselves. So I 100% agree with number 4. You should always give value and solutions, and you shouldn't hold things back if you know how to help somebody ever.
Absolutely. Because here's what happens. It is proof of expertise and proof of experience. That's big. And, when it comes to, I'm going to say the technical side of this is Google looks at all your content you put out as saying, hey, how much expertise do they have in it? Well, Leslie, okay, she's been doing what she's been doing for 20 years. And then experience is like, okay, she has all these pieces of article or videos about all the things we've been talking about here. So that proves her experience. It's not just theory. She's not just standing in front of a group in a college lectern and just saying, well, if this happens, this could happen. No, this is real life. So that's really, really important, is expertise and experience. And that's what this does for you. We're talking today about how to remain relevant in 2026. And this last one, Leslie, this is maybe my favorite. We have somebody in our BNI group. I'm going to name her name. Her name
Christy.
is Christy Glenn.
I knew it.
And she is a storyteller.
She's so good.
Yeah, and here's something data wrong, but here's the cool thing. You'll forget about it in a second. But when you tell a story versus I give you a lot of data, there's 54% of my story you'll remember, like 5% of the data you'll remember. So tell stories. Like you'll remember the story Leslie told you about whatever, right? Because there's a story. But here's the cool thing about this. The more detail we add to the story, the better off we are. The more remember. Like Christy will tell stories of like, how many of you have a boat? Have you ever been to Lake Havasu? Well, I was on the dock one day and blah, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, no, that didn't happen. And now here it is a year later, and I can still recant that story. I'm not sure exactly what she was selling, probably boater's insurance, or I don't think it's called boater's insurance, marine and something insurance. These are the things. So when you're doing this, create a story around this. Like Leslie said, hey, I walked into this house and I've been taking care of this house for 6 months. And the owners have been gone for the last 3 months. And why they've been gone, we've been going every day. And this is something I noticed. And we caught this before XYZ happened. Now, I just want to point out that had we not, this little drip or this little leak, this is how much water was coming out every day, because we were able to measure it, that if they didn't have me here and they were gone and it kept doing this, over 100,000 gallons of water would have dripped into their house. Now, I want you to think about that, 100,000 gallons. The average pool has 10,000 gallons in it. Imagine the damage that would have been happening.
Oh,
It
yeah.
would have filled up, right?
You know,
and so all of a
yeah.
sudden you're like, oh my gosh. And this all happened because of what? A drippy faucet. They thought they were overdoing it because they put a cover on their kitchen sink, all the drains, so in case something came up, it wouldn't come into the kitchen. But what happened is they forgot about what the escape clause was for the water.
And water goes wherever it's easiest. It finds a way.
All of a sudden, there's a story, right? So think about that, because we'll forget about the data.
You know, you remind me of the story where that really did happen, and this will show you how much we as my company pays attention, right? I actually had to go do a home check one time. I don't remember why. I try not to do them. That's not my role in this company. I have people that do that. But I went to do a home check, and I walked in, and they had a courtyard before you get to the front door. And one of the sprinkler heads had blown off, which is common out here. Happens all the time. It's not that big of a deal. You just get this landscaper and take care of it. Then I go in the house and I notice one of the shower heads is dripping like crazy. And I think, well, that's weird. And then I go into another room and the faucet's dripping. Okay, now this is an alarm bell. To me, what I see when I see 3 things dripping that weren't dripping the week before, that tells me the pressure regulator's broken.
Sure.
And sure enough, I get the plumber out there, and the pressure regulator was shot. And so the pressure was building. And honestly, if I had walked away, and this is no joking, if I had walked away and not thought beyond the fact that we had 3 dripping areas, that house would have flooded. It absolutely would have, because it would have blown out all the faucets and all the shower heads. And the client knew it. He was so appreciative, because that's the kind of observation you have to be making when you are doing a home check, and not everybody operates like that. I could tell you horror stories on that too, but just because you said about stories, I wanted to share that story, because it's kind of it's sort of a situation where most people would not even think about it, especially not the sprinkler head, because we get that out here in California all the time. So, just be aware that stories really do help, because I have people that tell me that as well, that, oh, I remember when you said this. So,
well, one thing I love about stories, Leslie, is there was old time, even before our time, there was a campfire, and people would tell stories around campfire, and that's how they entertain themselves, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they would go from generation to generation. Well, I call it breadcrumbing. As an example, we get your newsletter every Tuesday morning, and there are stories in your newsletter. Well, now when I go to lunch or I go to have coffee with somebody, I don't say, well, how's the weather? I was reading this cool article, and this is that, and they're going, how did you know that? Well, I get this newsletter from Leslie, and this is what she talks about. All of a sudden, it gives me what I call breadcrumbing. It loads my lips to easily share insights about that company, your company, in this case, Leslie's company. And all of a sudden, they're going, who does that? Oh, that's Leslie. She owns a company called Executive Errands, and she takes care of, homes that, they have second homes and absentee homes. She says, oh my gosh, I have a friend who needs that. That's how business gets done when you want to say, how do I stay relevant in 2026? This is it. So just a refresher. One was be humanly present as often as possible. Customer service, leverage automation and AI. We would rather an AI or a bot answer our question instead of being put on hold or going through those freaking, what do they call them? Phone trees. Just give me something on the phone and give me an answer and fix it up for us. The next one is think of your company as a media outlet. Everybody has a phone. When's the last time you bumped into somebody, Leslie, who said, oh, no, I don't have a phone? It just doesn't happen. Not in today's world. So that means everybody can be a media, can make media. The next one is always share values and solutions for your ideal audience. You know, be the solution. Don't be the bearer of bad news all the time. And of course, then do it with stories, because we forget the data. Now, you might weave some data in there that's real easy, like, 2 out of 3 dentists recommend this toothpaste. We remember that, but really do the stories. Anything else, Leslie, before we wrap up today?
No, I think we pretty much covered it. I just want to reassure people that not to be afraid of AI, and don't look at it as the panacea of solutions. It isn't that either. It can do a lot of things for a lot of people, but don't get yourself so tied up in it that you forget or stop paying attention to those things that really matter, which is the networking and the promotion of your business and the creating a solid foundation and getting the right solutions for yourself. You don't have to create them all yourself. It's fun to do. I'm not going to argue about that. It is fun. The opportunities are immense and greatly enticing. But again, don't lose sight of what your goals are for your business so that you can continue to grow that thing.
We had in a closing story today, I had you meet with somebody else, and it was unique how both of you have similar success paths. Both of you built businesses, meaning, hey, you didn't start Executive Errands or Concierge Business Solutions to actually do the work, right?
No.
He didn't start his business to actually do the work. He bought it just like you created it. You both created it from scratch. Like, neither one of your industries, Executive Errands or his business, even existed when you started. Nope. So you started from scratch. And I just think that's so cool that you created industries that didn't even, I think you said there's 12 or 13. And with you, there are hundreds or thousands around the US and around the world.
Yeah, you can't.
You were the only one.
I was for a long time. You can't throw a stick, though, without hitting one these days, because society changed and outsourced everything. So it's a very strong, growing industry. I'm very proud of it, just as a whole, being a part of it. It's awesome.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank everybody for joining us again. The show is called the Twisted, Bent, and Exhausted Entrepreneur Podcast, and we just did a special. I asked Leslie if she would, and she said even with her tooth missing, which she's going to fix tomorrow, she said, yeah, let's do a live and talk about the show. It is a wealth of information, and all of our shows are probably about an hour long. They're great. They're video. And of course, you can listen to them on audio. And we always encourage you to, hey, put a comment in there, ask a question. And if you ever catch on a live, we invite you to say, hey, put a comment in there. We would love to do a Q&A with you and give you a solution. Because again, we live in our world, so we might not see what's happening in your world if you're a plumber, right? Or you're
we should do that. We should do a live that's a Q&A. Yeah, just do a live and promote it ahead of time. There's going to be I always call them the Stump the Bastard sessions. That's what we called them in aerospace when I was consulting.
Going to say that had to come from your business, your aerospace background, right?
It did. It came from my aerospace background. We swore a lot in that industry, but
you know what I think would be a blast is to do a live AMA, but we also do with an audience.
Yeah, I think we should.
It with one of the chambers or something like that, and say, hey, we'll do this. So we'll take a lot questions from the live audience. We'll also take it from the our audience online. That would be a lot of fun.
You think Katie would let us do that?
She is a trailblazer. I would say there's a good chance she would probably do it. We'll have to ask her and see what she says.
It'd be fun to do. I think it'd be great fun.
Yeah. Well, Leslie, speaking of great fun, thank you so much for doing this today. I really appreciate it. It was a lot. I didn't think we were going to go, but maybe 15 or 20 minutes. I'm looking up here. We're now at 59 minutes. Holy smokes.
When have we ever done 15 or 20 minutes ever?
Yeah. I guess I should have only given us one topic to be relevant in that. That's probably what we should have done. So anyway, Leslie, thank you so much. Thanks everybody for joining us. And if you like this, please do us a favor, give us a like and a share, and please leave a comment and let us know how you liked it and if you thought we could do something different. Thank you so much.
Bye, you guys.